Hi guys, welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast. It is me, as always, Steve Hole, and on the other end is Pascal Flo.
Yeah. Still,
no
Steve,
monster.
Still, I'm convinced that we should open a construction business at some point. Hole and Flo, also.
Well, AI can't get rid of those jobs, can it? Maybe it can.
So far, it can't. It's actually pretty crazy because yesterday I was talking to an electrician, and I've heard it from several people who are working in the construction business that their slots are fully booked out for months even. And I don't know how it is in the UK, but at least in Germany, everything kind of in das Handwerk, everything around construction, is not very much in demand from a job perspective. So people don't really want to work in that field anymore. That's why the demand from people, because people still need construction workers, is super high. No one wants to do those jobs. And I don't get it why, because the demand is super, super high. Supply is very, very low. And yesterday that electrician said to me he can pick and choose whoever he wants to work with. The waiting time is sometimes even up to a year. And he can charge a shit ton of money. Like, fucking hell. Guys, what's wrong?
I don't know why.
Everyone wants to be an influencer. That's the problem.
This is weird only because this is a joke for those who are listening, but I was chatting to someone about being meta verified, and then I was talking to Charlotte about it, and she was like, and talking about kind of why you would do it, and what if your account gets taken, and what would that mean for the business? And I was like, man, in a really sick, weird way, getting that taken away would almost be this weird relief of just like, oh, it's gone. Fuck that. Then like if online coaching just became nothing, my best friend went into building and construction. I'm like, oh, I could just like get him to hook me up and I'll become a builder and just like not use my brain as much for a little bit. Not to say builders don't use their brains at all, but I was more so thinking like the physical labor of switching off. There's some advanced stuff that I wouldn't be able to do, but I could maybe lay some bricks, like something like this, break something.
Yeah. No, it's 2023, but I think that construction workers, also they are falling into the same kind of thing here now, or into the same pitfall. I don't know. I think in general they take it much easier when it comes to those kind of accusations rather than the special snowflakes who are like, you can't even say that. They're just like, I don't give a fuck, man.
That's the thing I'd probably struggle with. He was telling me about like the banter that they have, and like it's very like blokey and like I don't know, toxic masculinity, if you want to put it that way. He wasn't used to it at all, and so I would be like a fish out of water completely in that situation. I'd be like, oh shit, grown up with three sisters and like a bit of a soft touch in many ways. So I'd struggle with the banter. I'd probably just be the person that got the shit taken out of them, and I'd be like, take me a while to give it back.
And to be fair, I very much enjoy building things with my own hands. And I think that many people are like this. Whenever I do something at home, I like it. And especially there are certain crafts that I very much respect because I find it impressive and amazing what some people are capable of building.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say if a builder wanted to have a go at my job, just be like, oh yeah, I mean, sit in a chair, type some numbers into a spreadsheet, piss easy. Like you don't have to do anything. Right? This is just, like, that's how you could dumb down our job very, very quickly if they wanted to.
Exactly.
Every time I do construction work, Pascal, I feel like I fucked it up. Like I drill into a wall and I'm like, why the fuck is it? What's going, like, how can I do this precisely and nicely? It's all just crumbling everywhere.
All the time, man. What I've learned over the years, though, ever since we have our own house, is to measure twice or three times. Measure and then also see whether it really is in perfect alignment and straight and all that kind of stuff. Always double check, always triple check to be very much on the safe side, because I had it so often that I was drilling some holes and then I was so certain that I was actually having the perfect alignment and the perfect distance, and then it turned out that it wasn't. I was just like, fucking hell.
I'm bad because I'm that stereotypical guy that's like, don't know, you get like a box from IKEA and I'm just like, fuck the instructions, I'm just going to build it. Like, I don't even want to take the time. I'm so impatient with that sort of stuff. So I'm just like, drill into this wall. But then I learned, because you need to I actually did do this. I bought one of those like wire detectors, so you're not drilling into something you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, I don't want to wait to get that. I just want to start drilling into the wall.
I was actually afraid to do that here 2 days ago, because we set up kind of a little bit of a cupboard in the bathroom downstairs. And there, I wasn't really certain what's behind the wall. And I was just like, should I really risk it? And of course you're doing it. But it's kind of playing a little bit with fire.
Yeah. You need to get one of the little detectors that just like beep and hopefully don't just lie to you, because that's sometimes what I'm worried about.
Anyway, my thing is just what I'm trying to say. Everyone who's working in the construction business, you have my deepest respect. The society needs you more than it definitely needs us, that's for sure. And I can't understand why so few people don't want to get into that industry if there's such a demand. And also if you can make at least here in Germany, because the demand is so high and the supply so little, and normally it always balances itself out over time, right? At some point then you have more supply than demand, and right. But right now, man, I mean, if you want to make kind of go into a field where it's pretty lucrative and you can make a lot of money, why not go down that road and also do something for society and for people that actually is worth something. And this is criticizing us, actually.
I'd say I think we help on a different level and smaller scale. Maybe a larger scale. This podcast reaches loads of people. And how much helpful advice do we say on the improvement season? We're helping people get lucrative jobs in building now. So what I was going to say, I think it's easy to stand out as a builder as well, because man, the people I get that come around and do jobs, I'm like, they don't turn up on time, like the communication's poor a lot of the time. So I'm like, I reckon they could stand out quite easily.
The thing is, we just had someone over who fixed our bathroom, and I don't know, it happened to me quite often, Steve, and this is a question now to you. When you take a look at me, do I strike you as a typical right-wing Nazi extremist?
No. The moustache? I don't
know. But whenever people are coming over, and this wasn't the first time, they always steer the discussion and the communication into then a political discussion where they're then kind of complaining about, I don't want to go down that route, but pretty nasty things, where I'm just like, holy shit, I don't want to be rude now because you're fixing my bathroom. But, it's a very tricky situation to find yourself in.
Your wife is blonde, and what eyes?
Yeah,
eye
but
color has she
maybe
got?
it is because of that. Because they are seeing like the pictures of my kids and my wife, all blue eyes, blonde hair.
I know,
pale. Yeah.
What?
And then I'm the dude.
Is Tony blonde?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm the one who doesn't fit into the family. I was even saying to Katie, like, if you don't know where I was coming from, what would you guess where I'm from? I don't think that I look German.
I only know you as German, so I can't say anything but German. I've had people said I look Italian before, and I'm like, I do not look Italian, I swear.
No. It's hard. You could maybe like a Viking, but it's just because of your muscles right now. I don't know.
Oh.
And also because I'm just watching a lot of Viking stuff at the moment, so I'm a little bit biased.
Interestingly enough, I'm watching, I don't know if it's the same Viking stuff, Vinland Saga, if you've seen it. Yeah, so I'm almost through it all. And yeah, I'm like...
Also the second season already?
Yeah, I'm almost through the second season. Yeah,
wow, nice.
Yeah, it changes a lot first season to second season.
Oh, yeah.
How the fuck are they so jacked? I think that with all anime, though, where I'm just like, man, the aesthetics of these guys, like they think everyone's jacked.
Yeah, but it's always the portrait of the Vikings, right? Those massive, big warriors. Nothing can harm them. They are just like those robots, machines. They are just like pouring through lots of people in front of them and all that kind of stuff. It's always in movies shown like this or represented like this.
imagine.
Which, to be fair, if you just take a look at Iceland and then the strongman guys who come from Iceland, I mean, go on. Over 2 meters tall, 140 kilograms, strongest man in the world, and all that kind of shit.
I just, who was it? Oh, no. Oh, man, I'm not going to be able to say his name. He's an actor who did, what was the, like, Marvel character that was, like, the god of the sea. He's got longish hair. Jason whatever his name is. But yeah, anyway, there's a reel that's going around where it's basically saying, like, oh, how much do you bench? How much do you squat? He's like, I hate lifting. I never lift. This is all genetics. It's just
really?
Like, someone would have to pay me a lot of money to go into the gym.
But props to him that he's actually like this, instead of saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm chicken, broccoli, and all that jazz." What they are typically claiming.
And you look at him, like I don't. The comments were just like, "Oh yeah, but steroids and CGI." But like, of course, people are just going to come out with that. But like, you look at people from Nigeria, like not to like put people in stereotypes, they're freaking jacked a lot of the time if they put like their minds to it.
It is just like this, and this is not a racial comment or anything alike, and this is actually even more kind of credits to them, that black people are just much more jacked in general, honestly. And I would love to have more black genetics, to be honest, in many different ways, if you understand what I'm saying.
They get everything, the booty, the other end.
Yeah. Can dance. So, oh man, this is a racial.
Gone a weird direction. Where was I going with the Vinland Saga? And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that either. What are you watching at the moment?
I just nearly finished Vinland Saga as well. The last episode that came out. I very much liked this season because it was so different. And it was so deep on many, many levels. It made you think quite, and also kind of you had to dig inside of how you would have behaved and all that kind of stuff. You know, it plays a little bit more with your morals and ethics and all that kind of stuff. This one I'm watching. Then I've started to try to watch again a Spy Family, because I've started it in the past and I was never really fond of it. But I'm at the point where I don't have anything else to watch, so I thought like, okay, give it a go. Then I just finished also the 1,000-Year Blood War, the first season with Bleach, which was pretty cool because it is of course new animations, and the former Bleach was a little bit older already, and seeing Bleach now with new animations was actually pretty cool, to be honest. And other than that, I started now with Katie to watch some romantic anime movies, because there are some very good ones from rating. There's one that has, I think, the 5th or 6th highest gross sales in the cinemas. That is called Suzume, where it's kind of like a secret door passage and all that kind of stuff. We haven't watched this one yet, but that is definitely one to check out. And yeah, that's basically what it is. And then of course all the animes that are right now still in the works, always waiting for then Demon Slayer, the new episode to come out, which will happen here for the last episode, that is then 17 minutes in length.
Yeah.
The new episodes of One Piece, new episodes of Hell's Paradise, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
You got more going on than me. I tend to like.
I'm a busy man, you know.
I binge like one anime at once, so I get through it really quick normally. Yeah. So I'm just on. Well, I'm actually on Demon Slayer as well, but that's the only one I've got like on the side. I think I'm a couple of episodes behind.
Latest season?
I don't know where I'm even up to. I'm up to like I don't think they've killed the demon. The demon that's like in the pot that like jumps out of different pots and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not as far. I don't know where it's going from here, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like the animations are incredible. Like that's just intense. It's crazy. But I am enjoying it. I can't really comment too strongly any which way. It hasn't been as comedic, this one, I don't feel like, as the season before, which I kind of don't mind, to be honest.
No, neither do I. It's kind of like a show. I watch shonens in order to see fighting scenes, amazing animations, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's the reason why I'm watching those kind of things.
That's what I learned recently, was that Berserk isn't a shonen. I can't remember what it's called. You probably know the name of that category.
That is exactly what I told you at some point. It's kind of like the darkish. It's more like a drama. It's nearly shonen. I always forget about it.
I think that's where I'm going to like the most, because I freaking love the
very
Berserk.
cool. Yeah.
And then Vinland Saga, I think, is in that sort of category as well. And I'm like, more like that could be cool. Although I have been the second season of Vinland Saga, I was like, come on, let's get some, like, let's get him back.
And I was
fighting.
always constantly waiting for something to happen, to be honest. And I thought, like, all right, now he's going to go into rage mode. Never really happened.
No.
Oh, we're spoiling things here now.
Yeah, a little bit. But hopefully people will just forget. It's fine. There's so many spoilers all over the internet. You can't help it now, can you?
That's true. Cool.
How is training nutrition going? Where are you with things?
Right now in week number 3 of this mesocycle, the leg update still, I mean, I haven't yet seen a doctor, and I've been constantly saying here on the podcast that my left side is a little bit kind of stopping me from doing the things that I would like to. Always need to try to modify things each and every single time. You know it yourself, when it comes to something like leg press, you never really leg press the same way. You always have to find your stance for that given day, for example. Same goes for Smith machine squats. You have somewhat of an idea, but you feel things out, you test things out. And right now, I don't know how to squat, for example, because if I'm going too wide, I have the feeling that it puts a little bit too much pressure on my knee, even though that there's less knee flexion going on. If I'm going too narrow, I had the feeling that this one time it put too much strain on my hips, which is kind of weird because you would expect it to be the other way around. But that's just what I've gathered here lately. And the unfortunate thing is just that my gym doesn't really have a lot of good leg equipment, that I can find a lot of ways to work around it. I have several athletes who have tremendous equipment. So you have a bell squat, a pendulum squat, a hack squat, Smith machine, 2 forms of leg press, all that kind of stuff. I just unfortunately don't have the greatest leg equipment in my gym. So right now I'm just a little bit in limbo. I'm still training, which is, I think, a little bit irresponsible, because every single time I'm just finishing things and be like, was that really the best choice now? But I just also want to be transparent about what I'm right now going through and how I address it, even if it's not the most responsible manner to go about it. But that's just the current situation. Everything else, upper body wise, going very, very well. And I think that you can even see it on pictures, because I've just recently posted kind of a physique update. And I think that I've made tremendous progress, especially in the upper body. And when I've taken those pictures, because it has been a long time since I've taken some proper physique pictures in the same place, same lighting, I was actually... I know how this sounds, but I was impressed myself that things are coming together now. And that's why when someone is now in the comment section saying things such as, Pascal doesn't belong in the fitness industry, first, I think that it has nothing to do with the way that you look, because you can also look like a skinny bitch and still provide very, very good information. But secondary, I know right now, I'm not questioning that anymore, because I think I've proven myself just with the work that I've been doing with clients and all that kind of stuff. I've been long enough in this industry to know my part, or know at least enough, and especially also putting things into practice and the way that I've been able to transform then my physique. And I'm finally at a point, and I think that it's something that I've already mentioned a couple of months back, that I'm starting to be at a point where I'm very, very happy with the way that I look. And it's, of course, only increasing and improving, because I'm still ticking off the boxes, and it can only get better then, you know? And if I'm already happy now, I can't wait to see what it will look like then in a year from now, in 2 years from now. And of course, at some point it will decline. But for now, I was even doing something like a most muscular. And that was, in the past, it was always one of the most pathetic poses that I was able to do. And this time, I was actually thinking that I looked like someone who fits in there and belongs and looks like someone who lifts. And that made me super, super happy.
So we've got a bit of a... You started with the downer, with the legs, but now we finished with a real up, which I'm really happy to hear about, because as your friend, business partner, someone who's spoken with you for years and heard you for the longest time say, like, you're not happy with your physique. Like, I think to say, quote unquote, I look like shit, stuff like that. Those are sort of comments you would make about yourself. And it would always make me sad because I always have this, I don't know, I want everyone to love themselves in that way. And like, it's a bit too hopeful, right? Like, I would be hypocritical because there's definitely bits about my physique where I'm like, fuck, like I really wish this was different, whatever. But it's so nice to hear that now you're at a point where you're just like, actually, like I'm really happy and satisfied, like not satisfied, but happy with what I've got here, and it's a physique that I'm proud of and where you've come. And I got people even messaging me on the back of sharing your reel of your transformation, being like, fuck, Pascal looks awesome. He's come such a long way.
Thank you very much.
It's awesome to see that and hear it, and like just credit to you to continue to go, because I think like there's a lot of people out there who can probably look to your transformation, maybe mine as well, where it's like, oh, actually, like I'm at a similar stage where Pascal was years ago.
Yeah.
If I keep going, I can get to this point as well, I think.
And I'm always a little bit skeptical when an influencer is putting themselves out there and say like, I only do it for you guys. I only am that transparent and all that kind of stuff. But I don't have that following to be able to say something like this. And if I post something, then it's still in that small circle of people that follow me. And that's why I truly have, when I share those kind of things, and there are lots of things that I don't share simply because I'm not that typical influencer. I'm not regularly, you very rarely see me talking into a camera over on social media, like on the stories or so, simply because it's just not me. But if I share those things, or whenever I share those things, it is also because it's not acting as a motivation, but more like, here, guys, take a look at this. This is what's possible for most of you guys, because I certainly am not special or genetically blessed, right? And you don't have to be either. Just take a look at me. And this is something that also a couple of people in the past have said in the comment section, that they can relate to me, because I'm just a typical normal guy with a family at home, have other things on my plate, and still get the job done. And it makes me super happy to hear that, because I then know that I can act somewhat as a role model, or at least as a canvas for people of like, all right, I take a look at him, and if he can do it, I can probably do it as well. And this is amazing, because yes, it's amazing to take a look at C-Bomb, how he then trains. It's aesthetics, it's entertainment, but it probably doesn't really apply to us, right? And if then someone like me shares his experience, his journey, and it's attainable for the vast majority of people, I think that therein lies the true value of like, hey, if you just put in the time, and also to some extent, of course, the effort, then this is probably something that you can achieve as well. Just continue ticking off the boxes, because there is no special or other special ingredient in there. I'm definitely not going to sell you on some kind of program, some kind of special exercise, some kind of special method that I was doing over those years, because there isn't. I've said it in the past, it's probably just time. And I think that with enough time, most people can do it as well.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
I think as a whole, I like to think at least, that's what Revive Stronger as a whole stands for, like your journey there. I'd say And that's why it's nice having us both on here, because we're different, but also quite similar. Like neither of us are genetic freaks or genetic outliers. I'm just a different person within that sort of range of genetics to you. And so our journeys look that little bit different, but equally, like that's the message we just put out. It's like just time under the iron, continuing to learn yourself, keep up to date with the evidence, enjoy the process, and don't like find excuses to give up that are based off like, I'm at my genetic ceiling, or I'm like, I have terrible genetics, so I should stop. Just keep going, and you'll be surprised how far you can take it and the physique that you can get. And just on the note of you're most muscular, it just made me think, because I think someone in the comments said something about the surgery you had to kind of tighten up your chest and everything. I'm very excited to see, with this added muscle tissue, with that removed, so that you have a tighter skin around there, like how all of these shots are going to be looking on your chest.
Yeah, this, and also then getting even leaner than this.
Yes.
Right, like shed off another 2 or 3 kilograms. That makes me pretty excited as well, to be honest. To go back though, I think for you it was, or it's kind of the same thing, just a little bit in a different, of course, person, and in a different way that many people can perhaps even relate to as well, because you're taking things from a competitive perspective much more seriously than I do. And it's then giving it a little bit of a different spin. If people can't relate to me, they can most likely relate to you. And I think that this makes up Revive. And it was never planned to be like this when it comes to the name Revive. But at the same time, it is so fitting, I think, that both of us, we aren't the most genetically blessed. Both of us have walked a similar journey, but at the same time, it's a different path.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because we're like we're so contrasty in so many ways, in terms of not just like there's so many similarities, but so many different like perspectives and viewpoints, but also sharing those, and also physiology wise very similar, but also very different in terms of like inputs and everything needed. So it's super interesting. At least I think it's interesting, and it just shows again how important it is to like find what is your recipe, find what works for you. Don't just base it off calculators or anything like this. What I was going to ask about your leg situation, the hips and everything, is it getting worse over time, or is it just maintaining the degree that it's at?
I have the feeling that something's on my left knee, and I think that it is correlated then with my hips as well. And I just need to get it checked out, because I have the feeling that it could very well be connective tissue that is constantly maybe inflamed even. And if I don't get it checked out, I'm afraid that something is getting so heavily destroyed that it can't be fixed anymore, because I have this since a very long time already. And that's why I need to get it checked out at some point. So that, I don't know, it really feels inflamed most of the time. And there are certain positions where I can't even force myself into anymore. It impacts my mobility. Not that I need to be in those ranges of motion, but it is kind of a more like a chronic thing already.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That reminds me of, I was doing some research because a new study pre-pub, before it's not like fully published now, they need to get it reviewed a little bit, but Brad basically shared it, where it was one group of people did 9 weeks straight training, one group did 4 weeks, 1 week off, 4 weeks, and they were kind of looking, does a deload / actually just a week off lead to better hypertrophy, because resensitization, fatigue reduction, whatever, and it didn't. Like the outcomes were the same. And I'm going to bring the lead author on, we're booked in for next week, Max Coleman, which is really cool. But I was doing some research, and I was listening to our Deload podcast, which I can't believe is episode 100. It was fucking ages ago.
Holy shit.
So long ago, that roundtable was. Yeah.
What is it now? 4 or 5 years then?
Yeah. I don't actually, it might be something along those lines, but it's madness, because like what they concluded essentially as Eric Helms, Menno Henselmans, and Mike Israetel was like, have a probably penciled in deload, but be reactive. And that's kind of like Brad was saying, how his mindset has shifted to being more reactive with deloading. I still think Menno and Mike and Eric have slightly different philosophies behind how they deload, especially Menno versus the other guys, because he does more just reactive and not full weeks of like backing off or what have you. But yeah, it was just great listening to that. But it was the point of your issue that is flagging for me, because it's like you sometimes don't know, you can't sense some of the issues you're going through with your joints and tissues, and why sometimes just like taking a deload just because it's like a preventive of those things. So yeah, it's like you're slowly feeling it. It's like, it does make me think, man, it reinforces you going and seeing someone.
Yeah. And I know, once again, it's kind of a little bit irresponsible, but at the same time, the health system, while it is, I think, one of the best in the world in Germany, simply because, okay, let's not go down that route, for why I think that's the case. It's more like I have the luxury of always seeing a doctor without paying really money, except for then the monthly insurance cost. That I don't really take care of that is more like out of laziness, to be honest. Because first off, I'm part of the generation who hates calling people. I freaking hate it. Yeah. Honestly. Give me an online application where I can schedule an appointment, and I'm more than fine. I will immediately sign up for an appointment. Let me call you, and I just procrastinate.
Yeah.
And this is
100%.
where I find myself. I don't want to call the clinic. I don't want to set a schedule or appointment there. That is number one. Number two is though the length that I have to wait in order to see a doctor. Right now, here in Germany at least, when it comes to going to see a specialist in that field around Berlin, you can easily wait 3 to 6 months. Right? And now you can make the argument, if it's a chronic thing, why care? Why bother? Right? Get the appointment now, because it will definitely not fix itself. So rather get the appointment now, see a doctor or specialist in 3 to 6 months, and then you at least, hopefully, have more clarification.
Yeah, I think you answered the question to yourself there.
Totally.
But I'm with you. I'd even prefer to go into the place to talk to someone face to face than have 100%. To call them. I just can't deal with phone calls at all.
Yeah.
It's like
what is it with us? Our generation of phone calls. Probably we had such a bad experience because I don't know if you still recall that time, Steve, but whenever you wanted to see or visit a friend, you needed to call up the house, and you were always hoping that the parents didn't pick up. Where it was, here's Pascal. Is Steve at home? No, Steve can't right now. He needs to clean his room. Oh, okay. Bye. Right, it was always the worst to call the places of your friends or so.
I can remember doing that because I used to remember my friend's number off the top of my head, which is big for me because I remember very few numbers and things like this off the top of my head. So yeah, I used to hate the whole like just calling up. Yeah. And also when we first got into like working and things, like phone calling and everything was how you did everything. I used to hate that so much.
I was working in a production company, like media production company, and I was one of the production assistants. And in order to then plan for things, there was still the time where we needed to call all of those places. And it was, I hated it. I always try to actually push it off to someone else.
And I'm awful. In person, again, if someone has a slight accent, I can understand them. But on the phone, I'm terrible. And a lot of the suppliers, because I worked in retail, were over in China. And then I'm like, I don't fucking know what they're saying. Like, I can't, I have to ask them repeating. It's embarrassing because I'm like nobody.
And then all of a sudden, you've just ordered 100,000 pieces of some kind of teddy bears.
It would have easily been done. But yeah, actually, I guess that's the news of the week, is that Deload study, I think.
All right.
That's the one.
I'm looking
which
forward
Brad,
to that.
That's the one he kind of alluded to when we had the podcast together. And I thought that's what he was kind of hinting towards, was that like, there's no point. He essentially, not no point. You probably, in most cases, for someone listening to this podcast at least, don't want to deload just for the sake of it. You probably want to, as we have always said, like earn your deload in a sense. Like, you still feel good. You can perform well next week.
How's your training going at the moment,
specific.
Steve? Training and nutrition-wise? We haven't talked about nutrition in a very long time, I think.
So my appetite is hitting that wall.
Yeah.
Only so much in the morning, but the issue is that I end up having is that my appetite is bad in the morning, so I push off my breakfast, but that pushes back everything. So that pushes back my training in the morning, and that pushes back then my next meal, my bedtime, and then it's a bad cycle that I get into where it's just like trying to push me back. It's because in the morning I just feel like I struggle to put food down essentially, and then in combination with that, and I don't know if it's because it's pushing everything back, my sleep's not quite as good, that I then don't feel as good in myself. My well-being's not as good. I feel more fatigued. So I'm kind of getting to that position, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's just body weight related this time or if it's stress, because I did something maybe a little bit irresponsible, similar to yourself in some ways, where I don't know what led me to do this. I was just experimenting with myself, or just testing myself. Now? So last mesocycle, as I kind of related to that deload study, I pushed it for 6 weeks because I felt like I didn't need it in that 6th week, so I could then deload in the next week. But the whole point that I had planned to deload the week before was so that I had plenty of time to train before my tattoo appointment, where I was going to be forced into some time off. And because of that, I decided, right, I took my rest day was landing on Friday. I had Friday off, took the weekend off, and then I was like, let's just try and get back into training. So I took a 2-day, like I even feel embarrassed saying this because I've never given this to a client. I took 2 days of deloading. And so I'm into week 3 now. And so I wonder if some of the symptoms I'm feeling with my appetite, the stress, my sleep, isn't just body weight related. And the weather changed, of course, which made sleep a little bit more challenging and everything. And obviously that also hurts your appetite. Like when it's hot, you don't want to eat as much. But I can't think that just taking 2 days off helped this situation. So yeah, I'm in week 3 and I'm feeling just lethargic. I still can perform in sessions, but I'm not as present within the sessions, if that makes sense.
To be fair, Steve, I think going through those things, because you said I would never prescribe that or tell that to my client to do, I think though you have somewhat of a responsibility as a coach to also test things out for yourself in order then to see whether something may be feasible in certain situations before you're testing things out on a client. You may be the researcher who's testing things out on your own and then turn into a mutant or so.
No, this is exactly it. I was just like, let's see what happens here. Like, maybe I have been too easy on myself. Maybe I need to like push a little bit harder, test the waters there. So that was one thing. So I'll have to just see how the rest of this time goes. Because if I can legit go 6 weeks, 2 days off, and then go for another, it will have been 5 weeks before the tattoo appointment now, because I only took the 2 days. So if I can actually perform well during that time, and I can look back and say, maybe I don't need, like I can reassess my assumption on some of like how much time you need off. It also is going to be individual, because like I said, I'm also aware of, and that podcast probably didn't help with like, am I going to cause myself an injury now? Probably more likely to get injured. So just have to be extra safe and careful with these things. But it's like Meadow said in that episode, he was like, if you train safely, like with full range of motion or like good technique, basically take control, like these things don't just come out of nowhere. Like you'll feel them kind of coming on. It's very rare that you'll suddenly just something rips off, like whatever. The guy who did the incline press and his pec just ripped off the bone. It was like he was using way too much load for like what he was meant to be doing there. So yeah, it'll just be interesting. And like something else I'm experimenting with was just starting I say this is an experiment, but in practice, I normally advise clients to start their mesocycles around 3-4 RAR compound lifts, 2 to 3 for isolation lifts. For me personally, when I started mesocycles, I often just take a lift to the point of which a rep got very challenging. That's normally where I take it to. So now I've started for isolation-based lifts going a step further. So like a couple of reps at least, very challenging. So I've maybe started a little bit closer to failure for the isolation lifts, just to experiment and see how that goes. Because I did find, my calves, delts, muscles like this, they just can take an absolute pounding. I was like, maybe I can get away with less volume with higher intensities on average and see if that works. So that's something else I'm just playing with. No,
it also there makes sense. And I think that this in combination with the method or methodology of reverse engineering a mesocycle, it's like you have the data from the previous mesocycle. We are not expecting that you're changing things up massively. Then you can take that data where you've pushed things to 1 and 0 RER, pre-planned things for the first mesocycle. Then you have your minimum rep target for that week. And then you go, and if it feels not that challenging, then of course continue the reps. Because it could very well be that you've adapted so well, recovered so well, that it's actually not your 4 RER anymore, even though that on paper it would say that it is, but it's actually then more like a 6-ish RER or so.
Yeah, I was hoping. I reintroduced hack squats, which I haven't done in a year. And I was hoping that I would hit, I don't know, in my head, I was just like, oh yeah, I haven't done it for a year. I'm going to hit a PR like in the second week here where my previous like 2 RER is now a 4 RER or something like, but it's not quite going that way.
No.
If next week I add 5 kilos and I get 10 reps on that first set at least, that will be matching my previous best. My goal then would be to add probably 2.5 kilos and another 2.5. So I hit a 5 kilo PR by the end of this meso. But already it's hard, man.
Yeah, but I think that this is also something that I've noticed as well, especially when you're not making a lot of changes to your program, that you will have it more often that you will repeat the same performance than you are capable of really like truly adding another repetition, and not just like adding another repetition for the exchange of another RER or so. If you're then kind of pushing to that 1 and 0 RER, which is more like the case with smaller isolationish kind of movements or movements that are more forgiving from a recovery perspective, we can nearly start like this from week number 1, then you are not really expecting to make massive jumps throughout the entire mesocycle. And you've brought up the example of delts. Like, honestly, I am using, so on lateral raises, you would never guess that both you and I, we have been training for so for me, it's close to 10 years. For you, for me, it's already 10 years. And for you, it's over 10 years, 15 years, something like this.
Nearly.
You would never guess with the way that you're using on something like lateral raises that you would have trained for such a long time already. If the logic would stay true to always add another repetition or some load.
Yeah, you'd be the world's strongest like
on lateral raises.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what's happening at the moment, and I'm pounding my calves. They just almost wherever they're recovered. If I'm not planned to train them, I will do stair calves at home or in the gym, depending on time, and I'll just do 4 sets to failure on each calf. Like I get to like the first set's like 30 plus reps, but it's not as high as 40, and then the rest drop dramatically, and it's just like killer. And I'm just like, if they see no improvement, it is just like they're stubborn as fuck. I wear shorts a lot. I mean, like I wear vests a fair bit, especially when it's warm. I want to have like calves that look like I train them. And I don't think I have calves that look like I train them.
And the only solution will be getting fat, like properly fat, so that they are constantly progressively overloaded. Or just inject some synthol into your calves and look like a monster then.
This is partly why I'm deciding I'm just going to fuck the calves, get them covered in tattoos, so that I don't have to worry about it.
That is my strategy as well.
Just distract with the artwork. It's all good. So.
Exactly. Cool. We're coming up on time, Steve, because I'm a little bit busy here today. But sorry, I interrupted you. You wanted to say something about bot.
I was just saying I was getting some of the best calf like pumps and like sensation of just stimulus in them that I've ever had.
Oh, amazing.
All
do you attest it to kind of experience just of what it is that we've talked about last week, having gone through thousands of repetitions now and being quite efficient at that?
Yeah, I think it's just I can use the calf muscle now. I think previously I just couldn't use it to its fullest, and I'm pushing it appropriately. I'm also using length and partials, but I don't think it's down to that particularly that I'm getting the great stimulus, but I'm just doing that because of all the literature and just been like, let's see if that adds a little bit of extra something.
No, absolutely. Cool. Then, guys, thank you very much, as always, for tuning in. It's very much appreciated. Last week was a little bit quieter in the comments section. So this week, I would very much appreciate if you can just like say hi. Let us know that you're still here and present. Maybe it was also because the week prior to that, I think it was the failure episode. Oh, that was a little bit more controversial and people were just like tired of commenting. I can absolutely understand that, guys. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. It's always appreciated. And I guess I'll speak to you guys next week.
Cheers, guys.
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality and we know how to do it. And we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.